Winning is a part of our culture. The desire to be the best, the desire to pursue excellence is a part of UVA.
Virginia has done it! The Cavaliers are national champions!
They're going to say no! They're going to say no! Virginia won the football game! Virginia! I don't believe it!
Whatever comes down the road, whatever the future holds, we need to make sure that the University of Virginia has options.
Welcome back to Inside Virginia Athletics with Dr. Carla Williams. I'm your host, John Freeman, and today we are shining a light on Olympic sports at UVA and the important work being done to sustain their existence and their excellence that we're so used to here at Virginia. So let's get right to it. Dr. Carla Williams, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome.
Yep,
Happy to have Andres here with us.
Special guest, first time on the podcast. Andres Pedroso, the head coach of Virginia men's tennis, who in his time here at Virginia has been involved with 3 national championship teams, 1 as assistant, 2 as a head coach. But not only has he assembled great teams, he has built a tremendous program here at Virginia. And we'll talk about what it takes to do that in this new college sports environment. So, Coach Pedroso, welcome in.
Thank you for having me. What an honor. I was very excited to receive this invitation, so thank you.
Question for you. Where do you keep all those national championship rings?
You know, I don't like wearing the rings too often. I've heard some coaches in the past just throw the rings on the table when they recruit and they go on home visits. That's not my style. I kind of leave the rings at home. But yeah, it's winning a national championship is so special, and it's an incredible experience for everybody.
And winning 3 is even more special.
Yeah.
So, Carla, let's talk Olympic sports. We talk about hard issues on this show, and Olympic sports is something that comes up so frequently in this new era of college sports. So where do our Olympic sports stand in this new revenue sharing era, and what is a brief overview of how we keep them operating and excelling here at Virginia?
Yeah, well, kudos to the Olympic sports thus far. I mean, this fall has been phenomenal, not just the last few years, but for decades. The Olympic sports at UVA have been phenomenal. Multiple national championships. I mean, all of our national championships, except for the men's basketball one, have come from our Olympic sports. So great history and tradition. And it's a challenge in today's landscape because everything has changed. And I think when you hear about or talk about revenue sharing, most people think about football and basketball because those are the sports generating the revenue that we share. But the impact is massive for the Olympic sports because you no longer have that revenue to help sustain the Olympic sports. So we've had to put a plan in place, and we are executing it, and Andres is a huge part of helping us execute that plan. And Our intention is to continue to compete for championships in our Olympic sports.
And Andres, we'll talk about your contributions of leading the way, really, for Olympic sports here at Virginia with how to do it in the future. Olympic sports used to have scholarship limits. You knew exactly how many scholarships you had for each individual sport. Now, with this new era, they have what's called roster limits. So what is the difference? And Coach, we'll start with you, with your program. And then, Carla, we'll go to you of how do you determine what our scholarships are for each Olympic sport?
Well, I think there's 2 parts to that question. Number one, it's how much can a sport fundraise in order to endow the scholarships that are now legal for that team to have? And then the second part to that question is where does that fit in the Title IX pie that our leader has to think about constantly in order to follow federal law. And so it can get a little tricky, but I'll tell you one thing, the first part to that question, our Olympic sport coaches are extremely motivated when it comes to fundraising. And we're doing everything we possibly can to become more financially independent and financially self-sufficient. And for us, it started with Gene and Terry Lockhart's gift in terms of establishing this endowment for the program. And we see it as an architecture, a financial architecture, and a structure that can potentially work for programs across Olympic sports at UVA. And it's going to take some time, but I'll tell you one thing, these Olympic sport coaches are super motivated and they love this place and they love Charlottesville and they're really grateful for all the opportunities that this place gives them, and they are working like crazy to tell this story to our donors and help them understand that competing for national championships at UVA is the best preparation for life you can ask for. Being top 20, top 25, top 30, it's not as special. And so this is the best preparation for life, and it's why it's worth investing in the Olympic sports and football and basketball and baseball, because here you have the best of both worlds, academics and athletics, and you're around an amazing community of people that are kind and giving, and they're there for these kids 100%.
So we'll talk about endowing scholarships. But Carla, let's start just base level. Scholarships with athletic teams. What do they cost? How many do we have? How does all of that work in reimbursing the university? And essentially, how do we pay for it here at Virginia?
Yeah, so scholarships are, that's our biggest cost. That's our biggest expense. We spend about $25 million a year on scholarships, and that is a massive amount of money. You know, we offer over 316 scholarships, and so now with these changes, it becomes even more critical to endow our scholarships, because I mean that's why we're here. I mean, I have this position because I could play a sport and there was a scholarship for me, and Andres knows this full well. He's providing educational opportunities for all of these young men to come and compete at the highest level. So the scholarships, those are the main reasons why we are here. And so the scholarships are really expensive. They're about $85,000 a year. To fully endow a scholarship is about $1.6 million a year. And we would love for any supporters to be able to fully endow a scholarship, but you can help us with far less. Like, you know, $100,000 over a 5-year period allows a named scholarship in our Olympic sports, in all of our sports. And we have several. And the goal over the next 3 to 5 years is to get those sports, those scholarships endowed. So it could start at $100,000 over 5 years, or it could be $1.6 million to, you know, fully endow a scholarship with one shot.
And just to clarify, so if you bring in a student athlete, the athletics department has to pay the university for the full cost of their tuition and the other expenses.
Yes. So our scholarships aren't free. They aren't free, and they're very, very valuable. I mean, it helps in recruiting to be at the University of Virginia, because this education is incredibly valuable. But we have a scholarship bill every year that we have to pay, and it comes from our operating budget. And so we have a small amount of those scholarships that are endowed, but the vast majority of them aren't endowed. And when you think about it, just to dig down a little bit deeper, the way we pay for those scholarships is through the annual fund. And the annual fund, through VAF, those donations come in for the right to purchase football and basketball tickets, and the right to have access to postseason and parking and other benefits. So that revenue is what we use to pay the scholarships for the Olympic sports. So, you know, another example of how the House settlement is impacting the Olympic sports, because football and basketball fund those scholarships primarily.
Now with the new settlement, you're on the hook for $20 million more each year to be distributed to student athletes. So there's the need for the endowed scholarships. And Coach, we'll talk about your work in finding money for endowed scholarships. You've already gone about and done some of that. So tell us that experience, what happened, what the allotment was, and then what do you do moving forward, and how much more do you need to get those endowed scholarships?
Yeah, so when we started, I believe we had about 2 scholarships endowed, and we needed another 2.5. So we needed to raise a little more around 3.5 million, maybe closer to 4 million to endow the rest of our 4.5, which was under the NCAA rules. We were allowed 4.5 scholarships. And so we were able to do that. And now the goal is to endow more scholarships so that we could potentially use them in the future, because the competition at several schools in the ACC and a lot of schools in the SEC, they either endowed their scholarships years ago, or they've raised a tremendous amount of money to distribute more scholarships to Olympic sports across their athletic department. And so now the race for Olympic sports at UVA is to endow the scholarships that they had before. And then once you get to that point, you're trying to endow more scholarships so that you can use them in the future and level the playing field with the big, lucrative football schools that have given their tennis programs 10 scholarships. They've gone from 4.5 scholarships to 10 or to 8 or to 9. And in tennis, if you have 8 scholarships, you're going to have some really good players playing number 6 singles. And you're going to have some really good players playing number 3 doubles. And so the depth in college tennis specifically, and I think in all Olympic sports, is going to increase astronomically because of these added scholarships. So this is why endowing scholarships is the number one goal for all the Olympic sports at UVA. And I think we've got a great story to tell, because, I think most coaches, all the coaches at UVA tell these kids when they recruit them that this is going to be a hard experience, but it's going to be the best preparation for life that you can ask for. We're going to push you academically. We're going to push you athletically. We're going to have a team culture that you're going to take to the companies that you work for or the hospitals that you're a doctor at. Wherever you go, you're going to bring that culture with you. And that culture is hard, and we're going to hold you accountable. And there's going to be parameters, and there's going to be a lifestyle you're going to have to adopt to. And so when you give a kid a full scholarship, they almost feel like they're obligated to follow those parameters the best they can. And so it's an incredible investment in these young people and the best way to give back. And so it's a great story that I think our Olympic sport coaches are taking advantage of. And it aligns with how our community views this place and why they love it so much and why they think it's so special.
So take us through the day-to-day of an Olympic sport head coach now in this new era. How much time do you spend recruiting? How much time do you spend coaching? And then how much time do you spend fundraising?
Yeah, I think it's different for a head coach than an assistant coach. I think based on the feel that I have of the head coaches within our Olympic sports, the head coaches have never been more focused on fundraising ever before. And so that's put a lot of the onus on our assistant coaches to really pick up the slack either on the court or in the logistical work that takes place on a daily basis with our student athletes to make sure that everything's going well academically, they've got all the equipment they need, their health is in the right place. And so we've had to rely on our assistant coaches a great deal. And so a lot of our time now is on the phone, on the computer, on Zoom calls, going and seeing alums and telling this story. And honestly, for me, it's been an incredible experience because I've met so many cool people and so many people that have made me smarter and so many people that have told me stories about UVA from their days that I didn't know before. I've got an incredible network of Wahoos all over the country and in the world. I mean, I've met with people in Europe, and so it's been amazing. So, and honestly, and I said this the other night, most of the time you don't even need to ask. At this place, if you build the relationship and you show people that you genuinely care about them and you want them to be a part of this, they usually say, Andres, how can I help? And I think that's been the experience of the Olympics coaches as well, who have been fundraising, and it's what makes this place special.
So when you go and fundraise and we bring in money to endow scholarships, is there ever a point where we're going to endow more than just scholarships, like paying for staff or operations budget? And Carla, it's a question for you generally about all of our Olympic sports here.
Yeah. First of all, can you see why this guy is so successful?
Yes.
I mean, I've been asked before, which of our coaches would you play for? And I say Andres every time. I mean, all about the right things, and it's genuine. It's a genuine love, care, and respect for college athletics, this program, this university, That's what we're all about. And so yes, we need endowments for everything. So the scholarships are the priority right now, but we also have head coaching positions that have been endowed, that are yet to be endowed, operating budgets for each sport. We're working on endowing those as well. And I'll just say that, the House settlement has completely transformed college athletics. And I know we say that a lot, but for the revenue producing sports, it's revenue sharing. And that varies from institution to institution. The currency for the Olympic sports, that's scholarships. I mean, those scholarships are like gold. I mean, that is what they use to attract talent to their programs to help them continue to compete for championships. So the pre-settlement number for men's tennis was 4.5. That was the limit. Now, Andres could have up to 10 scholarships. So if you think about it, if he's competing with 4.5 scholarships against someone who's offering 10 scholarships, that's a serious competitive disadvantage. A serious disadvantage. Men's lacrosse, 12.6 scholarships pre-settlement. Now they could have up to 38 scholarships. No one's doing that. But you can see that there's room for growth. So there's a competitive disadvantage that comes along with not having ample scholarships. So that's why we're working so hard to try to get those scholarships endowed.
So where are we right now with scholarships, and especially compared to our competitors? And we'll keep it narrow enough to focus mostly in the ACC with some of our contemporaries.
Yeah. Well, we've made so many strides over the years in Olympic sports. So we are ahead. So we've got the best men's tennis program in the country. So we're ahead. We have to ensure that Andres and our other coaches have the scholarships necessary to compete. We aren't there yet. We have to raise money for scholarships. We have to protect these programs in perpetuity because it goes beyond the scholarships. They also need funding to operate, to travel, to recruit, to feed, to clothe, equipment, apparel. All of those things are needed, and our donors have been ultra generous. And I think Andres mentioned earlier Gene and Terry Lockhart and their gift to men's tennis, and they have been very supportive. A number of donors have been very supportive to our Olympic sports. I think you've seen that in the news here over the last few months because that's a concerted effort to really generate more revenue for those sports. So we're in a better place, but we have a long way to go, and we're going to need all of our donors to help us get there.
So, Coach, it's relatively on you to raise this money, to endow more scholarships, to be more competitive. Who else are you working with? How does that all come together, from an Olympic sports coach to VAF to everybody involved in making this possible?
I mean, I've had help from the president's office. I've had help from the Virginia Athletic Foundation. Carla's helped me. I've had help from all over the place. And I haven't been shy to ask for help. And I haven't been shy to use the relationships across this university. And, I was the assistant coach here from 2010 to 14, and then I left for 3 years, and I came back to be the head coach in the summer of 17. And the biggest reason why I came back was because of that culture of everyone wanting to help you here. And so when I have a recruit on grounds, everyone wants to meet him. Everyone wants to help out. Everyone wants to show them something or introduce them to somebody. And it's been the same experience fundraising. And so that's why I think we have a real chance at doing this here. And I think our Olympic sport coaches, all of our coaches, should be confident that if they use the resources and they use the relationships here, that we will get this done. But we need everybody's help, and we need everybody to believe in this and truly believe that this student-athlete experience, it's different. It's different. The way we're running our football program in that jungle of revenue share, NIL, I mean, I can't even imagine what that's like. And I'll share a quick story. Coach Rosinski is the defensive coordinator of the football team, and our sons are on the same baseball team. And they're playing in the pool, and I've never met him before in my life. And I sat next to him, And he's, sitting there, and I just started talking to him. And he started talking to me about how they are mentoring their players, how they went through the transition of showing up at Virginia, and instead of kicking players off the team, they kept them on the team and they mentored them, and they did the most they possibly could with every single student athlete on that team, and they invested in them, and they did it the UVA way. It wasn't a cutthroat way that it was just win at all cost. It was a way that said we care about these kids more as human beings than football players. And that's the UVA way. And it takes a lot longer to be successful doing it that way than the other way, which is win at all costs. And in the short term, and immediate gratification is what we want to achieve. And so that conversation to me was eye-opening. And I said, Coach, we got to get that message out, because that's the UVA way. That's how UVA athletics has always been, and that's what's made us special. And that's why we have 35 national championships, which is an incredible amount. And so that story stuck with me, and I told him, we got to get that message out, so here's my opportunity.
I love that you brought up football, because football and Olympic sports are so intertwined. And Carla, you've said this from the moment you got here. Our Olympic sports are stronger when our football program is stronger. So how does the attempt to sustain success in Olympic sports impact the football program in one way? And then how does the football program impact the success of our Olympic sports?
Yeah, if you look at the landscape, everything is driven through football. It's driven through the media rights, television viewership of football. And it's been that way for decades. It's not new. It's not new. The only thing that's new is the House settlement, which says you now have to share that revenue with those student athletes. That's the only thing that's new. And so when our football program is healthy, it allows our Olympic sports to thrive even more, because the entire world has changed. So what we did before to compete in our Olympic sports has changed. We have to do more to sustain that level of success moving forward, because now there are individuals that Andres and the other Olympic sport coaches compete against that have an advantage. They have more scholarships. So that is a competitive advantage. We have to figure out how to counteract that. And so the strength of our football program, the health of our football program, ensuring that UVA has options, along the way, down the road, to continue to compete at the highest level, is really all dependent upon the strength of our football program and the strength of our basketball programs. So that's why those two programs, those two entities have to coexist. And at Virginia, we are determined to have a broad-based, successful athletics program. We are not going to be one-dimensional. We were never built to be one-dimensional. It was built to be a broad-based, successful athletic program to give experience to student athletes across multiple sports. That's what this university has done. And now investing in this new landscape, the implementation of the House settlement will allow us to continue to do that.
So I'll ask you straightforward, does investing in caring about Olympic sports impact the quality of the football program?
It does, because of what Andres just said. So I haven't been at a place, and I've been doing this for a long time, where the coaches in our revenue-producing sports care more about the Olympic sports. That's very rare. It is very hard to find. And so the strength of the wolf is the strength of the pack. And that's why this program is one of the best in the country, because our football coaches, our basketball coaches, our baseball coaches care about our Olympic sports. At the beginning of this podcast, Andres brought up Title IX. I mean, how often do you see that happen? You just don't. That's why this place is different. That's why this place is special. And that's why I believe we'll get it done.
And investing in Olympic sports doesn't take away from your football program, right?
So you can invest in, we've got 27 sports, and we have the potential to be competitive in all of them. That is what attracted me to UVA. We don't have to compromise anything. We have everything we need and the people to do it, to compete for championships in all of our sports. It's going to take work, and we're going to have to be creative. We're going to have to be innovative. We need help from multiple sources to make sure it happens. But I've said this many times, Virginia is worth fighting for in this new environment. That's what we have to do.
And Coach, let's talk timeline. So you're hopefully on your way to eventually getting to 10 funded, endowed scholarships. Where are we right now? How long are we looking at to get to that 10 threshold? And if it takes a while, how do you think that could competitively impact you in a year, in 2 years, in 4 years, when there's a whole cycle of athletes?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I know about Carla is that if you go out of your way to exhaust all options to fund your program, she will help you. She will help you. And that's been my experience with her. And our Olympic sport coaches should know that, and I think they do know that. And I think our alums should know that, and our donors should know that. She is the last person that wants to cut sports. She chose this job when we have 27 sports like we do today for a reason. She knew what she was getting herself into. And so she's doing everything she can to juggle the 27 balls in the air. There's a bigger ball of the 27 that she has to juggle, and it's heavier and it's tougher. It's probably got some thorns on it too. But she's still juggling it. Regardless of how much she's bleeding, she's still juggling it. And she's doing the best she can to juggle all the balls in the air. And that's what it takes to be a great athletic director at UVA, but it's worth it. She chose the harder path. Our student athletes chose the harder path. Our coaches chose the harder path. And it's still going to be hard when we endow all these scholarships, because that's what competition does. The cream rises to the top and everyone starts innovating and enhancing. But that's why we love the job. We're never bored. We're always challenged, and we love to work, and we love this place. So it's worth it.
I think this is an incredibly urgent, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we do not endow these scholarships soon, our competitors will be offering players and student athletes that we don't have a scholarship for.
Yeah. There's a sense of urgency. And we felt that for years. This isn't new for us, the effort to endow scholarships. There is a heightened sense of urgency. So, our window is 3 to 5 years. That's our goal, to try to get these scholarships endowed. It's doable. It is very difficult, but it is doable. And you can see from the work that Andres has done already, he's already gotten the 4.5 endowed, and he's well on his way to having 2 more endowed. So I'm confident that it's doable here, but it's a heavy lift.
Now,
Worth it, though.
We have a lot to offer. We have to pay for it, obviously. You think about, we have national championship winning coaches. We've got the academics. We've got history. Now we have a facility. We have the Olympic Sports Facility, which we haven't even brought up yet. So we've just finished completion of the Harrison Olympic Sports Center. It's right next to the Hardy Football Operations Center, which is part of the Raymond W. Breeden Jr. Athletics grounds here at Virginia. It's an amazing place to be for administrators, for coaches, for all of our scholar athletes. What's also amazing is how successful our Olympic sports have been as the construction was being completed. So Carla, tell us just what we've been able to accomplish without these facilities, and now what is possible that the ribbon has been cut on.
Yeah, we are thrilled, because when you look at the teams, there were 8 teams that were displaced during the construction, and those teams have been in trailers during construction. And during that time, those teams accounted for 2 national championships, 5 individual national championships, 8 Final Fours, and 10 ACC championships. Just remarkable resilience, and it's indicative of who we are as an athletic department, because we refuse to make excuses. Those coaches, those student athletes, the staff, they just went out and took care of business. And so now they get to move into this beautiful facility, and we are so grateful for the donors responsible for the Hardy Center. I mean, the Harrison family has been phenomenal. Mr. Breeden has been phenomenal. And these gifts have been transformational for our Olympic sports. So when you think about those 8 sports that were specifically displaced, they are all national championship contenders this year, many this fall. And so, you know, they were able to get the job done while they were displaced, and now this facility has already had a huge impact on recruiting. I mean, we have brought a ton of recruits through these facilities already, and a lot of commitments. You know, so it is happening exactly the way that we anticipated it happening, and we're just thrilled.
How important is facilities in this grand scheme of a program, especially in this new age? Because you hear, oh, NIL is the most important, or maybe it's academics or a pathway to a pro, but where does facilities fit in this whole puzzle of building your program?
Well, like everything in collegiate athletics, everything is an arms race now. And everyone's always just increasing the level of how nice things are, the resources, the enhancements in terms of player development. And so in UVA men's and women's tennis's case, I'd probably put golf in there too. We have no excuses because of what we have at the Boarset. And it's just an incredible place. I mean, I tell the guys all the time, we literally train at a resort. And so that's thanks to the generosity of our donors and our alums who, you know, invested so much money in our indoor facility, our outdoor facility, that beautiful golf facility, squash as well. I mean, the best squash facility in the world, maybe. It's an incredible facility. And squash has been nice enough to allow men's and women's tennis to coexist with them in their gym. Again, that's something that doesn't happen in other places. Squash literally said, UVA men's and women's tennis, you can come in there, use our lounge, use our gym, and it's been a great relationship. And so it just shows, again, the character of our coaches and our programs. But yeah, tennis has no excuses, and I have so much respect for what those coaches who had to move out of U-Haul and be in trailers for the last 4 or 5 years, what they've been able to accomplish. I can't even imagine, you know, what's ahead for them with this new Harrison Olympic Sports Center and you know, everything that comes with that.
And Carla, Coach mentioned it's an arms race. So facilities-wise, with Olympic sports, where are we now in that arms race?
To open the Olympic Sports Center, the Harrison Center, this September was phenomenal. I mean, it was a heavy weight lifted because now that center will impact all 27 sports, because within there we'll have the Center for Citizen Leaders and Sports Ethics, which is all of our academic support services, leadership development, our Leadership Academy, community engagement, personal development. So everything is under one roof. And all of our student athletes and coaches and staff will be able to take advantage of that facility. So when you couple that with Boar's Head and the baseball facility and Palmer Park, the Football Operations Center, the Hardy Center, Disharoon, all of our facilities now are in a great spot. We've got a couple more things that we have to take care of in a couple more sports. But by and large, we've got some of the best facilities in the country. And it was really important to try to get those facilities completed, before we jump 2 feet into the House settlement implementation. We've been able to do that. We've got great facilities. We've got a lot of great momentum moving into our efforts to endow scholarships, endow operations, endow head coaching positions, and the future is very bright.
And your office is going to be there too, right?
Yes. Yeah, and we have this phenomenal photo that it makes up the wallpaper, and it's one of the coolest moments of our program's history, at least in the last 10 years, of a player getting an award, an ACC MVP, and the rest of the team just absolutely jumping for joy that he got the award. And it's just a really cool photo, and it just kind of embodies what our culture is. And the Harrison Olympic Sports Center embodies the UVA student athlete. You know, it's not just about lifting weights. It's not just about X's and O's. It's not just about, you know, what you're doing in your sport. It's developing the whole student athlete, the human being, and making sure that they're prepared for life. And it also shows how much this place cares about Olympic sports, which is huge, because I'm not sure if there's another Olympic sports building just for Olympic sports across the country that recruits are gonna say, oh, they have that too. I don't know if that exists. And so this is an incredible example of how much this place cares about Olympic sports.
And donors made the building happen, and
Absolutely.
donors are going to make the future happen for your program and endowing those scholarships. Where can people find you if they're inspired and they want to get involved?
I mean, I'm about to give out my cell phone number. I'm easy. You send me an email, I will respond, and you know, I'm easy to get a hold of. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody for everything you've done for UVA Athletics, UVA Olympic Sports, UVA men's and women's tennis. And there's no way we'd be in the position we are today without you. And so I'd like to thank everybody, all the Wahoos all over the place.
Coach, this was fun. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
All right, that's Coach Andres Pedroso, Carla Williams. I'm John Freeman. That's another episode of Inside Virginia Athletics with Dr. Carla Williams.